Monday, May 7th, and it is now time to take a look at our stocks. We have LLNW, which we're still long from a price of 504. Midday, we had our stop at 507. What we're going to do is raise that up slightly to $5.13 per share. I think that gives us enough room here below the lows of the last couple days and that rising 5-day moving average. So we've got a stock that's just grinding slowly higher for us, and if we get stopped out, it will still result in a gain on the position. The shares of Dunkin' Brands, DNKN, we got long at 62.53 and took a third off on Friday as it hit daily R3, if you recall. That was good for a gain of 32 cents per share. And we were looking to sell another third today above 60. Above 63.87, 64.37, and that was good for a gain of $1.84. So one third off with a gain of 32 cents, one third off with a gain of $1.84, and the stop on the balance is at 63.34. That's 24 cents. That's a little less than a dollar above our entry, but it's still in a good place where it gives us some room in here. The stock is getting a little bit stretched, but it behaves well. We took a little bit off above this level as we intended to. So now let's see if we can continue to see this one move higher. BRS was stopped out today, so we got involved in this one. And this one, as I'd mentioned earlier, I should not have had this one on as an official swing trade idea because the average daily volume was just 418,000 shares. Anyway, the way that we traded this one today was to purchase it at 16.90 and then take a third off with a gain of 20 cents per share as it hit daily R2. So purchasing in here with a first part off right there. The stop on the balance I had suggested at 16.77, which was below the low of the day. That was hit. So that means on the balance we lost 13 cents per share. So 26 cents on 2 units and 20 cents on one, meaning we lost 2 cents per share overall on this position. So very tiny, small loss. And as I said, I made a mistake bringing that to your attention because of the low volume. I guess I was just looking at the chart thinking it looked good and didn't notice the volume. Anyways, BSTI was another good one from today, which was a purchase at $12.10 per share. We took a third off with a gain of 22 cents per share, and what we're looking to do is to sell another third if it can get up to or through 13.25. That way we want to sell a little bit to the breakout players. Our stop on this position will now be at $12.60 per share. That gives us a nice gain, 50 cents if we get out there. But it's below this little low right here. So why wait for it to go all the way back? Again, be in the habit of winning in the stock market. 50 cents is a nice trade on a $12 stock. Take it. Or if you're looking at it from a longer term perspective, maybe your stop is way down here. I don't think that way, but I can help you if that's what you're interested in. All you have to do is ask to help make it more appropriate for whatever time frame you might be looking at. MRO was stopped out here. So again, this was when we were watching it closely on the morning of earnings. It gave an entry in there, and today we were stopped out of 2/3 of this one for a gain of $1.85 as we raised our stop up to $20.35. I guess 20.35 was right here. So of course that's where it is because that's where my arrow was. Anyways, $1.85, so nice percentage gain there on MRO, about 10%. LVS, this watch list idea, we're long from $75.71. We've taken a third off with a gain of $1, and the stop on the balance now is $76.15 per share, below today's low. UEC, we were looking for it to get above $1.70. It never did so. If you bought early, you got one. You should have been out fairly quickly, I think. But there's no reason to continue to watch UEC. It's going to need a couple days, I think, to reset up if it is going to go, because we'd have to have a stop way down here at this point, and that's just too far away. So take that one off your list. VMware, if you got long at 135.13, I'd suggested taking some off if it got to daily R2. It didn't do that, so maybe you took some off somewhere else, but but if you're long at 135.13, I'm going to say your stop goes to 135.20. That covers all your commissions, and make sure you don't lose. Again, be in the habit of winning, be in the habit of not losing. Do what you can to protect your capital. ESV, another watch list idea. If you got long at 593, a gain of a dime was taken at daily R2, and I had suggested the stop on the balance go to break even. So again, we took a third off. We got stopped out of the balance break even. That was above where the stock closed. Overall, it was slightly positive due to the fact that we took a little bit off into that first bit of strength. IGT, I had set the stop a little bit too close in there, I guess. $28.15 or is 28.17 is where I suggested. So a loss of 5 pennies per share, and I did that because I was a little bit concerned about the market, but it was more, this stock. It's kind of in that range. So if you're still involved in it, I'd say worst case stop below today's low. I'm not going to continue to update that one because officially it did hit that stop. So it's up to you to decide whether it's appropriate for you or not. UMPQ, if we look at that daily chart, that prior resistance seems to be holding a support. It's above a rising 20-day moving average, and the volume's starting to come in and see it stabilize in there. On the 30-minute time frame, you can see I have the volume weighted average price off the beginning of this move and from the peak right here in the same spot. Tomorrow we get rid of this data. This is where we were 5 days ago. That means this 5-day moving average is going to start to rally here first thing in the morning as we replace this data, even if the stock is just flat. So what we'd like to see happen would be for it to break above Friday's high, $23.68 per share. If it gets above that, I think you can get involved with a stop underneath today's low. So we could buy this one above 23.68 with a stop of $23.29 per share. I put this on Twitter too, just because it's a slow, boring stock. But if you wanted a wider stop, then perhaps down near $22.90 would make sense. But getting above that high from Friday puts it above the VWAP from the peak from the beginning of this move and above a rising 5-day moving average when we have a rising 20, 50, 100, 150, and 200-day moving average. So looking at that weekly chart, it's got room to run. Maybe it can continue. It's typically slower trading in a bank type stock, but it's got a good chart. You can't ignore it. ZTO was a watch list idea, and if you're long that from 1680, we had our stop at 1657. I would say keep your stop there. Sell some if it gets up to $17 per share. This one, if you're in it, I think it should be smaller share size. As I went through on Saturday, it's a very choppy stock. CBLK, this one is a good watch list idea for tomorrow. The company came public last Friday. Here's the volume weighted average price since the event. So if it can get above this little peak right here, maybe it could get going. That's 24.80. I would say if you do get involved, stop would be 24.30, just below that little low. I did have one other official swing trade idea actually for tomorrow, and that would be Unisys. So Unisys, as we know, we were watching this one, and it still looks like it can get up towards that 13.5. But we were watching it because it was above these key volume weighted average price levels and the year to date, of course. And now on the daily time frame, it had earnings, it broke out. It was up on big volume subsequent to that. Since its rally, it's traded much lighter volume the last 2 days. Average daily volume is 652,000, and it's holding above this prior resistance. So resistance broken, turning into support above a rising 10, 20, 50-day moving average, and all these volume weighted average price levels going down to since the event. That would be right here. It's holding on that VWAP, the high from the event. It's holding above that as well. I think for a swing trade, it probably needs to clear this peak right here, which is 1248. Our initial stop is going to be 1179, but I would think that if it doesn't break below this level, we can put it probably at 1195. Of course, I'll update that in the midday video. CCJ, we had our eye on this one a week and a half ago, and some of you traded it. It is holding on nicely to these gains. The weekly chart still looks like it has room to run. The daily time frame, I'd like to see it settle down another day or two, so be aware of that. Maybe it's a day or two early, but just something again to keep an eye on, as would be Cliff's This is Cleveland Cliffs, used to be Cliffs Drilling, I think. Anyways, this one has had a little bit of trouble with the volume weighted average price from the beginning of 17. So you can see that right here, here, and then today. That's from the beginning of 17. So keep that in mind, okay, because otherwise you'd look at it and say, hey, it's above the rising 10, 20, 30, 40 week moving average. And there's that weekly chart. You can see VWAP, you can see a little bit better there. So keep an eye on Cleveland. Most of the stocks in the energy name did pull back a little bit deeper than this one, but actually HLX, it did pull back a little bit, but here in the weekly chart, I think it's looking like it's heading towards this level pretty quickly. The daily time frame, it's above, here we saw the rising volume, diminished volume on the pullback, and more importantly are the volume weighted average price levels from this shakeout right here. That's been holding as support, as we've noted, and from this resistance, well, now we want to see it get above today's high. If it can get above 789, I think it's good for a swing trade with a stop right under here at $7.64, so only 25 cents per share on a energy name. And initially we'll be looking for it to head up to here. Of course, when I say initially, as a price objective, not talking about taking a third off at daily R2. So a couple other names to keep an eye on, a couple blue chips. Home Depot. Home Depot is holding, it's fighting that year-to-date volume weighted average price, and the volume weighted average price from the peak here you can see it is holding above. It's above a rising 10, 20, and the 50-day moving average is starting to rise once again, and that'll be more apparent in the next day or two. On the weekly time frame, it was a nice pullback to the volume weighted average price from this low right here. I'm sorry, from this low. Let's clean that up. So from this low right here, it held that, which is also near the 200-day moving average. Daily time frame, it's holding on, and even in here, even on this big stock, you can see it was up on increasing volume. And that relative to that, the volume has diminished as it's consolidating. It's probably needing to settle down in here a little bit. Here's the volume weighted average. I think that's the most important one, maybe from here, but it's probably a day or two early. It's got to get through this area, but it looks kind of similar to McDonald's. McDonald's on the weekly time frame, we can see here that the volume weighted average price from January of 17 on a closing basis, it didn't hold, but it did hold above the lows from 2016, and now it's recovered on that daily time frame. It had this strong shakeout right here, and now we had the breakout, which of course was extended. It pulled back, and it's above the volume weighted average price year to date. It's above the volume weighted average price from this peak, and of course from these lows. So the buyers are regaining control. It needs to settle down a little bit first, but maybe it does something like this in the next day or two and then gets going for McDonald's. And finally, Sunrun, SRUN is the symbol here. Solar's, got hit by big, after FSLR reported last week, and that stock completely failed. But Run has held up the best, and it's got a little bit of a band of resistance up in here recently. So I'm not sure exactly where to buy it, but it had a strong shakeout. It made a higher low and another higher low. We've got a rising 10, 20, and 50-day moving average. The weekly time frame is bullish as well, and here you can see that on the weekly time frame, expanding volume on the way up, lighter volume as the stock shows consolidation in here, and it is building energy, it seems. But again, it's just tough to say where to buy. Maybe it does something like this, pulls back, and then for a day or two, and then we buy it.